Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, with this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Eli, Righteous, Neil, Refracted Curvature, and a whole bunch of people in Gilded, Discord. Welcome one and all.
Hello, what's happening?
Hey,
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning, welcome. We're going to rattle our way through housekeeping because there's going to be a slight change to our regular scheduled formatting today. We'll see how it goes. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Oh,
No,
it's been
there's
debunked.
no. That's what they need, and they've never had it.
In the mathematics, it would only exist there below surface level.
Right, Eli, how did your question go? Because I don't want to get it wrong even once. You there? Has everything stopped
great
working? I was asking Eli to rattle off his housekeeping question. Is there any evidence that level is equidistant from the centre of Earth? Going on.
I think so.
Total silence. I love it. What a mad impact that housekeeping has had, Eli.
it is. If you're thinking and you're like trying to figure it out.
Is anybody suggesting that there is?
Yeah, anti-flat earthers suggest that because of some definition that they found dug up somewhere, 5th paragraph down, that level is actually running adjacent to the outside edge of their sphere Earth. So that's what they say. It's equidistant to the centre of the sphere Earth. Well, if you look on screen now, you've got eye level and surface level. Well, those two things are straight lines. They're not running equidistant to a sphere. And part of the derivation of their maths to derive a horizon we will never see below surface level, that's Earth curve that we debunked in 2020, they need level to be level, not to be equidistant to a sphere surface, because it balls up all of their maths. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for that. And the way they give us the current number of 93 million miles is to have a radius value to a sphere that doesn't exist. So the previous question destroyed that war chest information that they never had.
Plus, the distance that they give has changed over the centuries. Copernicus said it was 3 million miles away. Kepler, 12 million miles. Newton said it doesn't really matter. Benjamin Martin, 81 millions of miles. Thomas Dilworth, 93 millions of miles. So there's no evidence, because if there was evidence, it wouldn't change whatsoever.
It's because it's based
Well,
on
not only
Kepler's third law. So Kepler gives you a scaling calculation. That's all you get out of him. It doesn't actually give you any distances or sizes. So to use it, you have to impose something to give you scale. Now, at the moment, the thing that's used to give you scale is Venus. So if you're wondering why Venus is called Earth's twin, it's because it's assumed to be the same size as a presupposed sphere Earth with radius 3959. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius, and Venus radius?
Equator.
What about it?
Inference. Well, every diameter has to have a radius. So, since
Yeah,
we have the
But that's on a
diameter,
flat plane. So the radius value of the equator,
So?
or the equatorial plane, would merely be Polaris at the centre, and then the outside edge, all the points that you could see it from, as it lowered towards your horizon on those outside edges. So, i.e., if you're standing in the middle at the GP of Polaris, you could lie on your back and look, and it would be above your head. And then if you walked as far as you could possibly go to the very outside edge extremities of where you could see Polaris, you'd call that the equator. It's an arbitrary position, but it's merely an area of equal elevation. Now, if you're saying that that circle, because you can call it that, is radius based, then yeah, okay, you can draw out a circle. Again, it's completely arbitrary at this point when you describe it that way. But that's not in relation to the centre of a sphere Earth, Arwin, and that's what the question's in relation to. 3959 at the centre of a sphere Earth.
well, if you have a diameter, then what else is it a diameter of, if not a sphere?
Does a two-dimensional circle have a diameter?
Yeah, that's where he started. Now he's just flipped the... Yeah, whatever, Arwin. Can we move on? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's gravity?
Go in
Which
truth.
one? Einstein and Newtonian. There's no evidence for either of them anyway.
I'm not the one with the claim. You tell me if you want to claim it. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Negative.
Are we asking for scientific evidence of a downward bias?
Whatever they say gravity is, it's definitely a claim. And if they're going to claim it, I want scientific evidence for it. That's why I'm asking for it.
No, you can't have it. Sorry.
They'll say apple falls down from a tree, and they'll give it a speed of 9.8 meters squared per second.
Well, somebody told me yesterday that everything does go down except gas.
That's not everything then, is it?
As the apple decays, does it give off gas?
Yes.
It's part of the apple. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Oh, yes. Apparently, I actually posted the link in Master V. Somebody in my chat today told me that there was a measurement of the speed of light. And then they basically linked me up with this, which was not what I expected. But yeah, hilarious.
Did you want to save that till Brian gets here? Don't mind if you want to go through it now.
Maybe. But yeah, the thing why I'm bringing it up now is because apparently this Römer guy, guess what? He was an astronomer very blatantly, and he calculated the speed of light based on astronomy. Apparently.
Is that a measurement? Calculation? Is that a measurement?
Calculation.
Yeah, but that's the problem with astronomy now, isn't it?
In there, John's question. You said calculate. Well, is there any measurement involved in this?
Wait, where am I?
Have a scan through it.
yeah.
We'll come back to this when Brian
Angular
joins.
measurement, perhaps, but
Maybe.
Yeah, you're flattered for that.
Have a look through, and then when Brian returns, hopefully you'll have something to come back to him with, because that's kind of his thing.
Yeah, I think Brian's already pretty much said it's either, I think it was 2 calculations and 4 assumptions, or the other way around. So yeah, Brian's on it.
Yeah, but how can you calculate something without measurement?
I'd already presented
Like I
it.
can
Arwen.
calculate.
I'd already presented it. Don't worry. We'll come back to it.
You mean
it's funny
like
though that it
Venus?
says Romer's determination of the speed of light. not really measurement, is it? Determination.
Right, you could make a calculation for the gas lamps in Narnia. It won't make that a measurement of anything. You know what I mean?
Well, do what Kepler did with Venus. Same thing.
Well, how could you get the speed of light? It's got to be a way.
If it had a speed, it would. Yeah, you would.
When I shine my flashlight, it appears on the other side of the room. It had to get there somehow, right?
No. Doesn't have to travel. It can just manifest.
But is there a viable hypothesis in our midst?
No.
Absolutely not. No.
Okie dokie then. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Well, of course. I mean, they tried to measure it, dig to it, and they couldn't get any single prediction right. So why wouldn't there be a molten iron core, right?
So no measurements for the R value, but they got the molten iron core right. Is that right?
Yeah, they used a sonogram Earth.
Well, how did they measure the sonogram's return signal without a flat baseline?
Oh dear.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. That's just mathematics and all that.
Alrighty then. Any evidence you can have gas pressure without a container?
Negative.
Wouldn't know
Everything-
how to test it.
Everything on this Earth that we deal with pressure needs to be contained, from hairspray to propane, you name it.
Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
What a stupid question that is.
What's the definition of an angle?
Two lines, straight in nature, meeting at a vertex?
Well, a baller I think I saw a hangout where a baller said that, and the flat earthers did not disagree or point out how that's impossible.
No, the
So-
baller said that the line was meeting or skimming a curved surface to give them an angle. Wrong, but they agreed to it. We cover everything?
Yeah, I think so. The problem with the elevation angle and the meeting of a curved surface, even skimming, is laughable, as one deck did earlier. But you have the GP of the star or sun and the GP of the observer. That whole thing has to be the radius of a circle of equal altitude, straight. So there's no way around it.
I'd love to know what's causing G plus to distort. Can't figure it out. Sorry. If you're listening and there's crackling, I can't figure out what's causing it. It didn't used to happen on the old computer. It used to be me that crackled. Anyway, right. I think we've completed the housekeeping, which is good because we're going to do something a little bit different today. So I'm doing this completely blind. But we're going to be having a look at a bit of a mainstream video. So I'm going to have to be pausing quite a lot so I don't end up being struck for copyright. But we're going to react to this. We've already pointed out in the pre-show the video, which is called Flat Earthers versus Scientists. Can we trust science? Middle ground. Now, can we trust science is a reification fallacy. You know, it's not building credibility. It's not got a name that you can defame. It's a method. So the title itself has got a reification fallacy in it, which isn't great. But there we go. That's where we're beginning. Now, in the pre-show started it. We've picked a random spot. It was a bit boring when I played a few seconds just to check the audio was okay. But we're going to go on from wherever we randomly land and react to it. So if you hear me pausing every 10 seconds when nothing's been made as a point just to go, it's just because I don't want to get copyright strikes for playing stuff, which I don't typically do. So is everybody ready? Try and keep yourselves on mute.
You know, people used to believe that lightning was God's wrath and throwing these lightning bolts, but once we understood it was a natural process, God shrank a little bit more because now we couldn't attribute those lightning bolts to God. We had to attribute that to the real science.
Okay, so science for lightning. So far, so good, no issue.
And the other thing, to the point about the Bible.
Go on.
I was going to say we can attribute that to science. That seems like a reification fallacy, right?
It is a bit of a reification fallacy, but I'll let him go with it because he might later in this, I can't preemptively say that because he might later go on to establishing the cause of that phenomena, which is within the purview of science. So based on that, it's loose, but you could start to form an idea that he's building a reification fallacy, especially as one's in the title. But yeah.
Bible specifically for me is, why is that one particular text the correct one? You choose to believe that, and that's fine, but there's so many other writings and so many other books, so why?
Okay, this is supposed to be a discussion about science, and already we're talking about a historical standard in terms of finding out whether or not primary source research has been done on texts, whether or not they've gone back through the Hebrew in the Bible. This isn't science. This has nothing to do with science. They're testing the faith of the opponent and establishing grounds in faith, not science. Unless somebody wants to correct me.
It's important to do that when you're going to put up pseudoscience as an alternative to the Bible. That you have to attack their position if your position is going to be based on faith as well.
I see. So if they're going to postulate woo-woo for the globe earth and heliocentrism, then they're going to attack what they perceive to be woo-woo from the opponent's side. Okay.
Why weren't they correct? Why is just the Bible correct?
Well, what you'll find in a lot of these ancient religions is they're all flat earth religions.
Who cares? That means nothing in a discussion about science and scientific evidence. Why are we discussing whether or not many religions in the past believed the earth was flat, or could even document it as being flat? It matters not unless they're proving it's flat. This means nothing. So again, anybody who's out there on a religious vibe trying to fight the flat earth, or fight for the flat earth, with your religious doctrine, it doesn't go over here. I mean, I don't allow it on the live show. It's like, no, this isn't a proof. Anybody got anything to add? I know there's a lot of Christians on the panel.
Yeah. Like you said, what's the title of this debate?
Flat earthers versus scientists. Can we trust science?
Yeah, so let's stick to the title. And what this guy's already done is he's cast the science guy. He's already got them going to ancient manuscripts, which is historical data. It's not science. We're not even on science yet.
It got him on the defensive, though, didn't he, Tim?
Yeah, but that's okay. I would say at this point to anybody, I go, so do you believe in the Bible that it's God inspired? No. Okay, good. Then let's take it off the table. Let's go with the subject matter of science.
Yeah, we're not talking about what people believe. This isn't a believe discussion.
Well, I agree, but as far as his debating point, he has got them on the defensive now. They're defending their position and the position of ancient religions. So it was a good tactic. I mean, it's a skeezy tactic, don't get me wrong, but it was a tactic that worked.
Yeah, but also realize what he's doing is she said, but all these ancient religions that you're saying things about never looked at the earth as a globe. So she's using that and saying, see, they thought it was flat, but he's not talking about that. It's like, get to the science part of this. This is what the whole thing is called science. Are you using real science, or are you going to sit here and tell me that the ancient manuscripts of many religions is what you want to talk about? I mean, is this guy a theologian or a scientist?
Okay, so I can see it from the subtitles that are up already. All their cosmology goes back to being a flat earth with an enclosed system. So that's going to be the next statement from this chick. Okay, fine. Let's see if the next breath brings us a proof of why that would be the case. If not, we'll explain the proof rather than the baseless assertion that's being made.
The cosmology goes back to being a flat earth with an enclosed system. So it's not just the Bible that teaches this.
Okay. And you're going to base that on whether or not the Bible says it and whether or not you've just said it. Well, that's a baseless assertion fallacy. So what you say, Earth is an enclosed system, and the Bible affirms it, this isn't a proof of anything. This is weak. Very, very, very weak. Because she hasn't gone on to say, we have gas pressure on Earth. Gas, at pressure, needs something to press on. The force is the force exerted on the walls of the containment. Gas expands to fill whatever containment we're in. Now, if the sky was a vacuum, then we wouldn't have any gas to breathe. Ergo, we must have containment. Not the olden time books say it's flat and has containment. So that's a thing. What? Useless.
This is what they've done, Nathan. They like the Bible says God created everything. Fine, let's stick to the creation of God, because the creation will have boundaries. The creation will have rules to it. Natural law is part of creation. And what they're doing is they're getting them to go to these different ancient manuscripts and keeping the subject on that, where if you say, fine, let's keep the Bible out of it, okay, because you have to be a person of faith to accept the Bible. Let's just stick to science. What do you got? Can you have gas pressure without a container? See, it's so simple, but she didn't go there.
It's
Exactly.
many different religious books.
So one problem I have is to trying to explain phenomena happen in nature by holy books. Those are religious.
Okay, good start. I would agree. Yeah, you're not going to explain phenomena in nature with holy books. No, you explain that with science. So hopefully that's where we're going next.
Religious books. Those are not books of science. And
Whoa, 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 whoa. Not books of science. Sorry, science is a method. Having it written down in a book that has the title saying science on it doesn't mean that it's any more or less valid than the Bible in this regard. In fact, it's equally valid or invalid because it's not science. Science is a method of establishing the cause of the phenomena that you just mentioned. And now you're going to tell me that the books that they're using aren't as good as my books. It doesn't matter what book you've got the outcome to a scientific experiment based on a hypothesis. That's just the documentation of the experiment, as opposed to what I know is coming. And we all on the panel know what's coming. They're pseudoscience written down with a title on the book that says science, therefore you've got to accept it.
Well, I think they're all doing a great job of keeping the burden of proof on the flat earthers at this moment. So as far as, because the title of the debate, the point is it hasn't even been put into contention of whether they have science or not, or if it is science.
Well,
so they've done well so far.
You mentioned phenomena. So you would expect the next thing in regards to phenomena, given that that's a dependent variable, part of a scientific prediction, aka hypothesis, that would be what he was talking about. But no, the next thing off his breath is, well, is it written down in these books that are called science or not? Because that's not a science book. I didn't get it out from the science section in the library. I got it out from the holy section. So it's not science. How do you know the book in the science section science? Shouldn't we establish what science is first before we decide which book is right about it?
Absolutely. But the thing is, the flat earthers at this point are defending a position they don't need to, and they have an ambiguous term called science at this point that hasn't been attacked.
Right, so by that standard, the flat earthers could just say, no, the Bible is definitely stored in the science section of the library. It is science. I say it is. Oh, you say it isn't? Well, let's define what science is real quick then. Science would be the establishment of cause and effect based on natural phenomena after formulating a hypothesis, aka scientific prediction, to then go forth to validate or invalidate your prediction by way of experiment, after which you can form a theory. That is the scientific method.
And it is wrong to infer or deduct scientific readings out of those books.
Why is it unreasonable to deduct scientific meaning from a book, any book, that's stating a scientific experiment being done. I don't care if it's come from the veterinary section, the biblical section, or the science fiction section. If what's actually in there is the establishment of a cause and effect relationship after observing a phenomena in nature and then an experiment to prove the presumed cause true, doesn't matter what book it's in. The standard isn't what book or what section or what title the book has come from. All that matters, if it's science, is has it followed the method or not. Nobody's detailing that from either side, and as John's pointed out several times, the burden's being stacked in the favour of the pseudoscience pretender clowns who are going to claim their books labelled science are more valid than the holy books that aren't.
Nathan, this is already obvious that the debate hasn't even started. It's one side is science, but they're really pseudoscience, and that's still yet to be uncovered by the other group. And that side is saying the other side is ancient books. We haven't even started the debate yet. If I'm talking to an atheist, I'm not going to open up my Bible. If I'm talking to a scientist, I'm not going to open up my Bible. If I'm talking to a Christian, then I'm going to open up my Bible.
My name is Wendell. I am a logical, biblically based, and scientific flat earther.
I'm pretty sure we'll be the judge of that.
I didn't start out, and no one starts out as a flat earther, but I had a lot of questions. So I actually...
This is so 2015. Does anybody give a crap how this guy became a flat earther?
No.
Spin on.
Out there right now. The problem is the information from someone who decides to
It's a good time for a
start a
commercial, isn't it?
website or produce a YouTube video is not reliable. When I have a toothache,
Sorry, if you get the information from Google or YouTube or an individual, it matters not if you've got validatable hypothesis tests, aka experiments. Doesn't matter who gives it you. If I start talking about a validated scientific experiment, it doesn't matter that I'm a YouTuber. It doesn't matter that you search for me through Google. It doesn't matter if you were handed my name on a piece of paper wrapped up in a pack of fags. It does not matter. All that matters is the information scientifically valid or not? But what, we're going to assess who's a valid source before they've given us any information? Oh, it's YouTube. So obviously it's all wrong. No, if I lay down a validated experiment that's perhaps saving your life with some medicine that you might be taking, does it mean that suddenly you're going to, relinquish that medicine because I showed and demonstrated to an audience how it has been validated through the scientific method? Because I'm on YouTube? How absurd.
I go to a dentist. When my car breaks down, I go to a mechanic. When you have questions about cosmology, you should go to an astrophysicist, you should go to a physicist, you should go to people who have spent years and years studying these ideas.
Ideas? He just said physics. So this guy clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. We're going to talk about ideas in physics that deals with the physical. That would be science. Yeah, the phenomena that we observe in nature and the study thereof is physics. All of the sciences fall under physics. But what you want to say, these people who've spent a long time thinking about stuff become science? Wrong. Definitely not. Science is a method. Have you fulfilled the method or not? Do I care if you did it after one day of claiming to be a scientist in white coat, or you did it after a lifetime of pretender clowning in a university? I couldn't care less how long you've spent doing it. Do you have a validatable, viable hypothesis to put forth as an experiment to validate your presumed cause? And have you validated your presumed cause as the cause or not?
Not
Nathan,
some 6 minute.
Nathan, pause, please. Don't we have a housekeeping question based on the fields he just mentioned?
Yeah, any viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics. Have they got any valid hypotheses? No. So what's he got to appeal to? Well, he's got to appeal to how many years in the job they've got and what their title was during their time in the job. Like I care. And
he's
simultaneously
appealing-
say these people are putting their information forth on YouTube. That man's had 7 years at university. What he says goes.
Well, he's appealing to a clerical error, isn't he? Because they've been mislabeled, as QE says, as it's a clerical error, where they've been mislabeled as science. He's now appealing to them as an authority within science.
Minute YouTube video. There is a percentage of people that if they saw a YouTube video that was not within their scientific chops to refute.
Right, not within their scientific chops to refute. I've refuted your last 2 sentences about what science is without any effort whatsoever, and I'm on YouTube. What are you talking about? What are scientific chops? Are they like sideburns, like mutton chops coming down your face, but with a viable hypothesis attached? What the hell are scientific chops? Refuting the science claims. No, that's done in the methodology. You refute your presumed cause of the effect you're studying in nature when you perform the method of science. It's not up to somebody after the fact to come up and have the chops to do it. They've either validated an experiment and then you just present the data. There's no arguing with the data because it's empirical. You either validate your cause if A, then B. Therefore, you've validated A as the cause of B. Or you validate your null if A, not B. Now, when that's presented, you varied A, it didn't cause B. You don't need any scientific chops. You just need to be able to read. Or understand science, as you clearly do not, my friend.
Refute on the face of it would believe anything out there.
It's not about belief. Believe after having the scientific chops to assess something that doesn't need assessment. It's either valid or it isn't. It either validated the null or it validated the alternative. Either way, it's validated something if it's real science. But what? We need to believe things. This is a crock of crap. You know what? At this point, I wouldn't be surprised which side of the argument this guy's on. I don't know which side of the argument this guy's on. He could be on either. It could be one of our numpties or their numpties. It makes no odds. They're all just as bad as each other at this point.
There.
One of the things I will say is NASA.gov has their own documents out there that we get to vet, which is through the Freedom of Information Act. And would you agree that NASA documents...
Sorry, documents? Isn't this a science discussion? What are we now? Clerics? Why are we looking at documents? Does it matter what NASA file? NASA are claimed to be in a sky vacuum. Yeah, taking place in Narnia right now is NASA information. Now, it's not really happening in Narnia. It's happening in some studio somewhere in the States. That's where it's actually happening. They're filming it in a studio. They claim that studio is flying around in a presupposed orbital motion in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum to give NASA the ability to be in a place that they'd need to produce documents about, then we'd all be dead. So who cares what their bloody documents say? The sky is not a vacuum, it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. Not that that's science, it's natural law. But that natural law debunks anything NASA have to say about anything. I couldn't give a crap what they've filed or what you've got with freedom of information. When they're in a sky vacuum... Yeah, get a grip, love.
If they're on display, that we should be able to go and research inside there.
NASA is not proving that the Earth is flat.
NASA's not proving that the Earth is flat. Yeah, they are. In those documents that I've just moaned about are talking about, they detail how we utilise a flat plane in many of those documents. So while you might come back and say NASA aren't proving a flat Earth, well, they detail how they utilise it quite a lot. Flat and stationary, according to NASA. It's just a fact. That's what they're documenting. Whether or not this chick highlights that useless argument when they're in a sky vacuum is irrelevant. They're in a sky vacuum. They're not doing anything up in a sky vacuum. So every claim they have, bar none, that comes from that region, Narnia, I mean space, outer space, is fake. None of this is relevant or pertinent to debunking NASA's claims. There's no need to talk about anything they do or document or present as footage. The stuff in the studio is not worthy of my time.
Well, they say it in 14 of the documents.
You should read what NASA says, and you should...
Really? What about establishing cause and effect reasoning with systematic experimentation based on hypothesis? Should we read and listen what NASA say? No, I don't care what they say. Especially in a science discussion. I care what they have in terms of empirical data. That would be scientific data. What was that? This is a science discussion. Go on.
She's already appealed to NASA as an authority. She's put herself in a bad situation.
Yeah, right on.
should listen to what
I
NASA
would
says.
love to see your NASA evidence that the Earth is
It's
flat.
only
I just covered it, by the way, in case you want to go and check it out. Taboo Conspiracy 2 has got a video that's about 20 minutes long, where he just puts one after the next NASA document saying Earth's flat. I mean, I don't know how else I can phrase that, but that's how it is. The reason they detail it as flat is because if the Earth was falling away 8 inches per mile squared, and you were in an aeroplane flying above the ground, then according to that claim, you've got a vast void opening up ahead of you. So if you head towards that void, and it's actually a flat plane, then you're going to smash into the ground, because there isn't a void opening up ahead of you at 8 inches per mile squared. It's a nonsense. Hence, you must deal with Earth as flat, or you'll crash into the ground. That's why they very specifically detail it as flat in their documents. Now, I'm not going to use that as a flat Earth proof. I'm going to use the fact that when navigating, you have to measure and navigate a flat plane. The maps are flat for a reason. They only work with elevation angle measurements if they're flat. And as for them coming from global projections, those global projections were made from a celestial sphere model that's flat. So if you want proof, I can provide it. If you want NASA documents that say it's flat, I can provide those too.
Nathan,
Yes.
do you know what's so ironic about this?
What?
Do you know who that guy is? Do you recognize him?
Oh, it's Tony. No, I don't know who he is.
He's the guy that proved that the horizon wasn't geometric.
Oh, that's
National
BL.
Geographic
You're saying this is
and
BLMSB
CFI
69?
investigator.
Is that BLMSB 69?
No. The guy from Nat Geo and CFI investigators. That's the guy saying they put the camera to the water level when they were shooting that flag over the lake.
Oh, okay.
they're
You don't
contradictory.
recall what I'm saying? The stripes on the boat, the flag.
Yeah,
The
you're talking about National
flags.
Geographic going out and seeing a black swan. Here, look at how the flag disappears. What about the horizon that's supposed to be Earth curve behind it? Yeah, that's a black swan.
So that's that guy.
Okay.
Nice one, Eli.
Okay. And?
What do you mean?
And?
man?
Yeah.
I don't
What do
think
you
you
mean,
get it. I really don't think you get it.
This guy's claiming to be science. He goes to the Nat Geo thing, as Eli's saying, and he's saying, look, there's the Earth curve. But the Earth curve is the horizon, and it's behind that flag thing. What kind of science guy says that kind of stupid stuff?
Gotcha. What you're saying is this guy's witnessed a black swan with the horizon beyond the geometric limitations he's claiming are compressing the flag. And here he is again on a very mainstream channel with 7.5 million subscribers doing an absolutely useless job and claiming things that we can debunk daily. So he's a regular. You're saying he's like the mainstream equivalent of Jem Panda?
Exactly.
May I comment just so far? So far, they have hijacked the term and word science and used it a lot. They haven't shown one bit of it yet.
Yeah, there's been no science discussed yet. The closest we got was when the guy used the word phenomenon. That's the closest we've got.
Issues
Okay,
that
let's
bring
see.
us here.
We're all familiar with the Earthrise photo, right? The Earth is rising over the moon. We're all familiar.
No. That was claimed to be taken from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, where the astronauts claimed to be walking on the moon had to protect themselves with suits from the sky vacuum so that the gas inside their suits didn't vacate and fill the space. Now check out this picture. That's a black area that the guys on the moon claim to be standing on the moon have got to protect themselves from. They don't want the gas inside their, what do they call them? Astronaut suits, space suits. They don't want the gas to expand outwards into this vacuum, this black area. Now look back, even at this distance that they claim Earth is, and say, is that clouds that I see next to a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum? Don't high pressure clouds expand in all directions to fill whatever availability of volume they've got if there was a high pressure, low pressure system, aka a vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr next to them? I'm pretty sure I know what happens when you put any gas next to a vacuum. It expands into it immediately. That's what gas does. So you're telling me that we've got this gas just happily sat next to a vacuum? No, that's a second law of thermodynamics violation. The gas would fill the space. all of this gas on this bullshit picture from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum would fill this area instantly. It wouldn't develop pressure. What's it pressing on? The vacuum? No, it would expand into the vacuum. We'd all be dead if this was a real image. So I don't know why we're being shown this. We've already debunked it. And had this been our conversation with these people, we'd point out that why would you expect this to be a real photo taken from a place that isn't real? You can't take pictures from Narnia. This is a second law of thermodynamics violation. How can you have gas pressure without a container? If the sky was a vacuum, as this picture's alluding to, then the gas we're breathing would fill this space.
Familiar with it. That's NASA. You can go out to the NASA site. You can download the original, right?
Download the originals? No, you can't. The originals aren't real. They're all fake. Because it's claimed to be a picture from a sky vacuum. Yeah, I've just debunked that. No, it isn't like whether or not you can get credible downloads. It's about whether or not you can take pictures from sky vacuums. You can't. They aren't real. Anybody just pick up on the fact that we've just debunked the entire moon landing? Schlat. Bye-bye moon landing. Now, just for anybody out there that's just unfamiliar with this methodology, you can piss around talking about whether or not flags are flying in a sky vacuum. You can talk about whether or not they had errors and issues with the journey in a sky vacuum. You can talk about the rockets taking off from the ground and their weight and their distance and pushing off with thrust in a sky vacuum. Or you could just point out that it's a violation of natural law. We have entropy law. Yeah, gas expands to fill space. And what do you know? The area they claim this black area is around the sphere Earth taken from the moon is called space. What, a space for the gas to fill? Yeah, that's natural law. That's what it does. And that's what it would do if we were just suspended in a vacuum. We're not. Ergo, these pictures aren't real. And neither is the moon landing.
And how are they going to invoke orbital mechanics for flying these rocket ships into a place that doesn't exist without an R value to insert into the orbital mechanics?
Right, a weak-ass argument they used to have was that they managed to calculate the fuel rate. Not without R. Even that weak-ass claim that doesn't prove a damn thing is debunked, Neil deGrasse Tyson. You'll need R if you're going to claim presuppositional orbital motions and sky vacuums in violations of natural law to give you distances to calculate fuel for. You'll definitely need R for that. And we've debunked the R value. If the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to the horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's eye in feet, and we have imagery that shows the horizon beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959. Reaction from globe believers. It's refraction. Ergo, you cannot get or acquire a geometric measurement of a claim to be sphere with a claim to be sphere edge horizon that's not blocking things in the distance to give you geometric measurements of R. So you don't have an R. There's no way of measuring it. See my discussion on Charles' neutral channel where I left my mute button to make damn sure he was aware that he was lying when he told his audience, well, we don't really need R, after we debunked your methodology for measuring it. You definitely need it. You just can't use it if you can't measure it. So no, you're not going to calculate any travel to the moon based on fuel through a sky vacuum when we can debunk every aspect of the journey and the maths to claim the distance.
I already know what you're going to ask.
So you bring up the luminance on it, and you can see where it's cut out and pasted there.
They're showing us doctored images that are clearly doctored.
Who cares? You want to focus on the photography? Focus on the sky vacuum. Focus on the fact that the doctored imagery has to be doctored because they couldn't possibly have taken it from a sky vacuum. Don't just tell them it's doctored, because what does that prove or disprove? What, that somebody's fiddled with an image? Oh, you proved that someone fiddled with an image. What about disproving whether or not it came from space? Go on, whoever that was.
No, I was going to say, here they're presented with a picture. They are obviously saying they're flat earthers. So the picture shows a sphere. Our housekeeping questions, R value, all the different ones that relate to a sphere could be brought up at this point. And obviously, this picture has to be fake because the gas pressure argument and the lack of R. They never went to that. They just went to the doctored image, as you said. but if they use that and say, here's why they had to doctor it, because you can't have gas pressure without containment, it'd be great. But they're just going back and forth, and the audience member is going to say, well, was it doctored? Was it not doctored? When they could kill it on the spot, they're not killing it on the spot.
The
Right.
blue
And
marble is a very
appealing to an image that's been doctored is like, well, okay, when we do a brain scan, we have to doctor the imagery to see certain, interactions within the brain. Does that mean that those scans are invalid now?
Yeah.
Would be,
Arguing a
you know,
red
it's-
herring, basically, because it's pointless and meaningless
Correct.
and doesn't debunk anything. And if you can win the photography argument as the ball-believing Muppet, then the audience perceives that you've won in terms of proving Earth's a sphere. Now, it's a fallacious claim in the first instance, and the claim that we're discussing should be pulled apart based on the fact that the images cannot possibly be real because they've had to have been taken from a place that is not real. If it was real, we'd all be dead. The gas around this blue marble image, not photograph, would fill the black 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum surrounding it. Ergo, this is not a real place to take real pictures from. This is fake.
very famous image from 1972. When you talk to the artist from NASA, his name is Robert Simmons, he talks about exactly how it was created from data.
Again, who cares? He's creating it because we can't take pictures of a ball Earth from space. Space isn't real, so they have to create them. Fine, point it out, but summarise that it couldn't be real because it would have to have been taken from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, which is definitely not the case. It's a violation of natural law.
And it's not a photograph whatsoever. He added clouds.
Let me explain.
He added clouds that would fill the area of volume you call a sky vacuum at 10 to the minus 17 Torr. Talking about high pressure gas? Yeah, that would fill the space. It's a natural law.
Highlight of the
If
sun.
you take, on your phone, most phones have that panoramic image. When you do that, you're taking a series of pictures, and the phone cleverly stitches
I'm
that
just
together.
saying how it's presented. It's presented as a.
Who cares? The image is supposed to be from a sky vacuum. You just have to debunk that it's not from a sky vacuum, because there is no sky vacuum. If there was, we'd all be dead. Let's just see who's trying to join. Adam.
Nathan, which is a better, obviously I know you're going to answer this, which is a stronger argument? The picture has to be fake because you're violating natural law, or how the pictures were taken?
The picture's not possibly being real in any way, shape or form is automatically debunked when you point out that the area they claim to be taken from isn't real.
Okay, and the group on the other side are physicists, scientists, whoever they are. That's a direct attack on their field. They cannot violate natural law. So far, no one's used natural law to debunk them.
And the science rebuttal is that pictures from iPhones stitch themselves together. That's his rebuttal. So far, we're 9 minutes plus into this, and we haven't heard a single word of science. Not one.
Real
So
photograph.
when NASA takes real photos and they either clean them up for color or they...
There you go. There it is. There's his claim. So when NASA, I'm going to put as much intonation on them not being real photos, like you stressed that they're real photos, then touched up after the fact. They're not real. If they were, we'd all be dead. The gas we breathe would fill the space the pictures were claimed to be taken from. We're not, therefore they're not real photos.
They stitch them together so it's one large image. It doesn't mean they're CGI.
Yeah, it does. It means they're unequivocally fake because they can't have come from the place they were claimed to be taken from. Therefore, they must be fake. They can't be anything other than fake, because for them to be real, we would all have to accept that the gas we're breathing, in line with natural law, has all dissipated into the availability of volume called outer space, in line with entropic law. It hasn't, therefore there must be containment. Therefore, if we're contained, there's no means for rockets or satellites or any other contraption to leave, because the gas could also leave, and it would. That's what gas does. Expands in all directions at high velocity until it fills whatever volume of space it has to fill. That's gas behaviour. Not It sits in white patches drawn on by Simmons next to a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. That definitely doesn't sit in line with entropic law. It's a violation of it. Definitely not a real picture.
Talking about composites. I'm what you call a globe denier.
Seen in the flat earth crowd is that it's not that they're undereducated, but they, instead of looking at evidence and letting...
Right, it's not that they're undereducated. So why mention it? Yeah? Do you think this psychology trick is going to work on us? No, your implication is going to get pulled apart. That's a poisoning the well fallacy by implication. It's not that I'm saying you're an ugly old twat. I'm not saying you're an ugly old idiot that doesn't know what science is, but actually I am saying that. You're an ugly old idiot and you don't know what science is. So don't poison the well by implication. I don't like it one bit. I'm not saying you got a crusty old Yorkshire pudding for a face.
The evidence guide to where the ultimate conclusion is. They start with a conclusion and then they try to cherry pick evidence to support their pre-drawn conclusion. They cast away all the bits of evidence that actually is contrary to their beliefs.
Nothing to do with beliefs. This isn't agree or disagree genre when we demonstrate how Earth is measured, how Earth is flat, and show how you unequivocally cannot show how Earth is a sphere, how it would violate the actual methodology of living on the flat plane we dwell atop. When we show that, that's what you actually need to do. Doesn't matter about your education level.
May I comment?
Go ahead.
That was a projection because it's from their side and in print that Al-Biruni and Eratosthenes started with a conclusion and assumed the Earth was a sphere.
I think that was the flat earther saying that.
I think that you're very well educated as well as you are Jim. But,
certainly Ali is. He's probably got the best education of all of us.
Exactly, and he paid for it too. But more and more professionals are coming on board. They're starting to question their reality.
Who cares? This is a science discussion. Whether or not people are coming on board is an appeal to consensus fallacy. It matters not if one person knows their reality and every single person around them disagrees. It doesn't matter how many people are coming on board. All that matters is that you can demonstrably show how Earth cannot be measured to be a sphere because it isn't, and how Earth is actually measured and navigated as a flat plane. That's all that matters.
So the thing of it is once you start to really take a hard look at the evidence, and you are unafraid of just standing for the truth wherever that...
Right, looking at the evidence, this is a science discussion. So I'm going to, without having any reasonable reason to not assume that they're talking in context about the discussion of science, evidence would be redundantly described in this context as scientific evidence. Scientific evidence is the result of an experiment. An experiment is an actualization of a hypothesis. A hypothesis ties into what the guy said earlier about having phenomenon to study. So you see an effect in nature, you suppose what caused it, and then you vary what you suppose caused it to see if it causes it or not. If it does, you've got empirical evidence, aka scientific evidence. So when you then move on to talking about what the truth is, it's like it doesn't matter about what people believe, it's empirical if you're doing science.
that may lead you, then people end up becoming flat earthers.
When that was brought to my attention, and then I started really critically analyzing that, and I would say...
Dad.
You know, just looking at that evidence, if they can lie about the moon landings, they can certainly lie about pictures and satellites and other things. And so I started going down that.
Right, if they can lie, so you're postulating that they might be lying. It's a possibility that they're lying about the moon landings. No, I can debunk that. There were no moon landings. The journey to the moon, whatever that may be, the moon that is, was claimed to take place in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. So if a rocket can leave Earth's sphere-shaped air and enter an area 10 to the minus 17 torr, that's a vacuum, then so can all the gas we're breathing. Yeah, the rocket just goes past the gas and waves goodbye to it. No, gas travels in high velocities in whatever direction it's traveling until it collides with something. So there's no position that they can traverse through the gas into the vacuum, waving goodbye to gas that isn't following entropic law. The gas would follow them. All of it. Instantly. We'd never have developed gas pressure at all if rockets could travel to a sky vacuum. So there was no journey to the moon. And it's not a question of if they were lying to us. You know, don't be so doubtful in your rhetoric. Come here to Flat Earth debate so you can say it with a bit more assurance to the person you're debating. They are lying. There is no doubt in my mind. Why? Because the place astronauts claim to have been is an area the gas would also go, given that it's also claimed to be an area the gas could fill. And that's what gas does. So the rockets aren't going to travel out to the moon through the air we breathe, passing it as it stops and they continue to the moon, because the gas would just follow on in exactly the same manner, going into the area the rockets claim to be going into, in line with entropic law, the second law of thermodynamics, how gas behaves. So there was no moon landing. There's not an if in this, my darling. There's an absolute unequivocal, you can call us astronauts, whatever they call themselves now, you can call them liars. They are lying to you. There is no doubt about it. They claim to be in a sky vacuum in violation of natural law. Definitely liars, not if.
On that rabbit hole of studying, so that was my influence from
How
my
many
husband.
lies does it take to make a liar, right?
And being ridiculed for being inquisitive is pretty tough on us.
Sorry, why are we appealing to your downtrodden life as a flat earther? Being inquisitive gets you... Sorry, who cares? You know, now talk about how badly treated you are. Maybe debunk the sky vacuum, as opposed to the best comment so far being, well, if they're lying to us, then blah, 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 blah. Well, that's very neutral. Let me rephrase that for you, love. They are definitely lying to us, because if they can take rockets into a sky vacuum, gas, which expands in all directions to fill whatever volume it's filling, would also go into that exact same place, leaving us with no gas to breathe. We'd all be dead. Definitely no moon landings, my friend.
Well, Nathan, it seems to me like these people, these flat earthers, are more interested in becoming like a flat earth minority group with special status, like, oh, we're so downtrodden. Oh, we just want to believe the flat earth. It's not like we have devastating arguments against all globe claims, but we're so poor. Can we please be like, have a victim status so we can be special and all that?
Well, I'm looking.
It's more like that.
I'm looking at the screenshot, and it says it's pretty tough on us. I have never felt that way as a flat earther. Has anybody felt it was pretty tough on us when it comes to the actual
get our violins
proof
out.
of what?
That's Jurassic Park.
What you doing, man? You're taking over my business.
Is this your business?
Hey.
This is all
I'm
about
not giving
business.
this-
Make no
you're
mistake.
giving this treatment.
Hang on, live show's almost over. So this pretty tough on us. I have never felt when I boldly claimed that they've hijacked science to pseudoscience. I don't understand why these people are so weak.
I'm sorry. Are you giving a treatment to this?
So everybody loved the treatment. Now, I think what QE's driving for, I'll give you as an outro, which is to say that QE has pioneered the treatment as we are giving it to these numpties, flat earthers and globers alike. And he's saying, are you stealing my bit? Well, let me just assure you, yes, we absolutely are.
Well,
Hey,
I
Hey,
like
hold
it.
on a second.
All right.
I'm not done yet. Hold
All
on a
right,
second.
all right, all right.
I just got this. I did a review of this. I didn't do the treatment on the video. I did a review of this and I put it in Ballbusters about 2.5 weeks ago. And I said, what a pathetic disgrace this was. Where'd you get this from?
I got it from 10th Man Rising.
Really?
Yeah. Yes,
Yes.
I'm here. I saw this a long time ago too, like you,
Yeah,
QE.
so did I.
Yeah, but think about this. You have the KFC recipe, but Nathan is Popeye's chicken with his own recipe.
It's perfect. Sorry to interrupt. I love it. Go.
Yeah, but you came up with the treatment, Huey.
Don't worry about it. I
Formed a
love
whole new thing.
it. I slept in too. How far into this are you? 13 minutes, 52? Continue. Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. Shout out to Retro Bill. He says, a debate between the cavalcade of numpties and globe busters would be their sheer torture. I hope I've said that correctly. I'm reading it with my studio lights on in a very blurred, squinty-eyed way, so hopefully I've read your super chat correctly, Retro Bill. Thank you very much indeed for the support. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow, and we'll continue taking apart this numpty nonsense. But if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Smash the PayPal link, as somebody did in a substantial way yesterday. So thank you very much to you. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video. Shout out to 4D4MD in the chat, or Adam D. Long time no see. Wow. I'm going to definitely be talking about you in the after show. Check out my second channel if you want to see that.